items come from journals. If you need to quickly search for a particular health topic to see if there's any uptake information, you can just type in, so if I type in dementia, it automatically filters so that you can automatically see where we've got uptake information around dementia. Like if I put in diabetes, it comes up with all the information we have, uptake data for diabetes. So that would be our front page for the uptake database. If you clicked on a piece of guidance like the diabetes one, you would be with something very similar to this. So this is actually for guideline number 87. Here we've got a recommendation number. I'll text what that recommendation is here. The audit criteria, which has been set, and then we've got what the uptake was for that particular recommendation. The data it was published, that relates to, so it was local, regional or national data, and here we've got the actual reference where that's come from. So if I click share, you can just get a quick title, or if you show, it gives you the full reference. You'll notice, so for recommendation 1.32, we have total 3 information sources relating to this recommendation. So the first one is from CAAW, the second from Stone, and then with national diabetes audit data. More national audit reports, you will find that we have multiple data points for the same recommendation because they regularly repeat their audits. So we've got data here for 2010, 2011 and 2012. So you can quickly see if there's been any change over time. And if I scroll down, again it shows other recommendations where we have uptake data. So that's the nice clinical guidelines. We're going to have uptake information for quality standards. Now, because this is a prototype and it's development, this is currently at statement level, but we'll actually have this drilled down to measurement level. And this is diabetes, and for quality statement number 3, it provides you with uptake data, and it's got the numerator and denominator, so you know how many it was out of. And multi-regional projects, and then you've got the reference there. And again, we have data for statement number 4, and this is national diabetes audit. Here you've got what the audit criteria was. So once it's been in full development and it's down to measurement level, this will be a lot more useful because you'll be able to see whether this data here relates to a process measure, a structure measure, an outcome measure. So that's the quality standards. Okay. You'll notice here there's a submit your data button. If you clicked on that, it would take you to a form very similar to this. It would ask you to log in or register with NICE, and once you've done that, it would come up with your details here, pull it through, so you'd be logged in as yourself. So what we're looking for here is for you to submit your data, if you wish, your audit data where it relates directly to a NICE recommendation or a NICE quality standard measure. The first bit is a little bit about you and your project, so you'd put the top of your project here, whether this has also been submitted for peer review because it's going to be a journal article, the geographical scope, so whether it's multi-regional, national or international, your audit, so date of completion, that's relating to what day was the data last collected on. Say piece of guidance that you've measured your practice against, or whether it's a quality standard. And you'll know if you click quality standard, it changes statements. But again, there'll be an additional column here to put the measure in that it relates to. Just back on to guide, so you can here you put in the quick reference guide, so this says TA123, you've put the recommendation number, and then you would put the audit criteria that you've measured your practice against. So that's, it's not fixed, you can put whatever you want in there. Put that achieve the audit criteria and have it out of. And if you can put some additional notes there, you know, if you excluded a particular population, you can add that in there. You can also add another result. So if you wanted to put your original audit result in, then you did some improvement work and you did a re-audit, you can then click add another result and it drops down, and it will put what you originally put in, as in the recommendation number, guidance reference, and then you can put in your new data here for how many it was out of and how many achieved that standard. You would then your location where you're based, and if you know the contact details for your audit manager for your organisation, would ask you to put that in there, and then a tick box here about data protection. You would then submit results button. That would get sent to a central email account at the NICE office. Now I can imagine you're all in a bit of a panic now, thinking, oh my goodness, it doesn't get sent to NICE and it's not been verified or checked. So, don't panic, I'll take you through the submission process now. You'll submit your data to NICE. NICE then contact the trust that this data has come from. So if it's a junior doctor that sent the data, they would have to put what trust, work out on which trust this data relates to. We would then contact the trust. The plan at the minute is to contact the trust clinical governance manager or clinical audit manager. It will be a standardised email that will basically say, I've sent this data to us, aware of it, are you happy for it to be published? We'll get an email back from the trust either saying yes, we're happy for it to be published, or no, we prefer for it not to be published. NICE does nothing with the data. So the trust say no, actually we prefer this data isn't published for whatever reason, it doesn't get published, and that's the end of it. But if the trust does agree for the data to be published, it will go on the new uptake database that I showed you. And just sort of clarify, if any data, if the trust do choose not to have the data published, we just delete that data from our system. And that's a bit of a whistle-stop tour around the demo. Has anybody got any questions for me?
Thank you, that's really interesting. It's a really great idea. We have a couple of questions. A question from James asking, the NICE has already shown this information with national audits, and if not, will you be doing that as part of your strategy?
I know NICE has talked with HQIP, with yourselves, so I'm not sure if it's better to go through those channels. I don't know what your thoughts are on that, Liz. Or whether...
Yes, I'm sure there'll be some formal arrangements made. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. We've got a comment from somebody that they're really pleased to hear there's a validation process around these data submissions. Obviously, that's something people and that you've already picked up on. We have a question also, Liesl, from Jenny, and Jenny's asking, what about non-NHS organisations? Is there room for non-NHS organisations to participate in this?
That's a really, really good question, actually, and if I can take these details down, I can actually get back to her on that question. That's a really, really interesting question. I've not had that one before. So yes, I can check. I can clarify. That's okay.
Well, if that's okay with we'll put you in touch after this webinar. We have a question from Kim asking what feedback you've received so far, and has the resource been piloted?
It's not been piloted yet. I've done 4 demos now. A couple of trusts have been interested in being pilot sites, so if there are any people out that would be interested in being a pilot, that would be great. In terms of feedback, I presented this to audit staff and to clinicians. The audit staff were sort of really concerns about the submitting process, but obviously once I've outlined what the submitting process will be, I think that reassured them. I think some mentioned about the fact people may own or trust may only choose to submit data that sees them in a very positive light, so where they're showing high uptake of a particular recommendation. That's a fair point, so I think there was an issue, maybe the data could be skewed. But hope is that people will put their original audit data in and their re-audit data in, so you can see that change over time. So hopefully that will negate that issue. The clinicians are really, really excited about it because, you know, if they do a very, you know, small-scale snapshot audit, they could quickly look at other people's practice if they went on the uptake database and see where other people against particular recommendations if they wanted to benchmark their practice.
I have a question asking whether the resource implications have been looked at by you. This person's wondering whether there might need a larger team to verify the submissions or whether it's within the team's capability to verify the submissions that when you send them through. It's thought about.
We've not set up resource implications for people that are submitting data into us. We've obviously thought about the resource implications within NICE. No, we've not. I think we've tried to make it as easy as possible for trust. So initially there was a discussion around asking the junior doctor to go and seek the clinical audit manager or clinical governance manager to get them to submit the data to us. We thought that put quite a few barriers in front of clinicians who want to submit data to us. So we thought the easiest way would be if they submit it to us, we'll for accuracy and then contact the trust to say are they happy for it to be published. But presumably these audits will be on their books anyway because they'll be registered audits, so it shouldn't be too much of a resource implication for them.
That's something to get your feedback from everybody, so we can to the NICE team. When you think it might be launching?
Right, we're not far away. It's a very busy period for us at the minute, so it's going to be in 3 stages. The one I showed you where you can actually look at uptake data that we've gathered from publications should be going in November this year. Yeah, and then people actually submitting data to us, I think realistically will either be Christmas or the New Year.
Okay, that's quite a note.
Yeah, not far off.
Question from somebody asking who the resource is primarily designed for and where these results get published.
The results will get published on the website. Hopefully it'll be very visible. We're going to have an icon that says uptake. I can't show you that at the minute because, like I say, I've only got prototypes at the minute, but I've been reassured it will be very visual on the website. Who's the target audience? It's trying to, obviously, the public and healthcare professionals as well as ourselves, so it's trying to sort of cover a wide range of an audience.
It might be used by patients when they're looking at making a choice about who provides their healthcare.
Potentially, if patients are savvy enough to look on the website, I suppose, yes. But I would imagine it would predominantly be healthcare staff that would look if they want to look what other people are doing in terms of a particular recommendation or quality measure.
Okay. And we've got a question again from James asking whether this is used as a benchmarking tool to benchmark different services against each other.
Wouldn't benchmark against each other. That's not the purpose of us putting trusts or organisations' names against the data. That's just the purpose of that, so that we're open and transparent about the data that we're publishing. So I would say it's about, you know, you can say with and them, but likewise it is a useful tool if you want to go on the website and benchmark your practice against national audit reports and such like. It's not meant to have a league table feel to all. That's not the purpose of it.
We've got a comment here. Somebody if only good results to be submitted, then that might give a misleading picture. And then briefly in your presentation, would you like to say a little bit more about that?
Yeah, I encourage you to put, don't get audit data on until your improvement work, perhaps. So if you I'm not showing my screen now, but if you're on the demo, you can submit more than one piece of data. So I think it would be better if once you've done your audit and you've made your improvements, then you submit your data. So we haven't just got all the the data that's showing just in a really good light. It might be that your original audit you were 30%. I'd say with 30% of a particular recommendation, but then once you've done your improvement work and your re-audit, you're up in the 80s, 90s. So I would recommend to submit their data in that fashion. Hopefully, that then mean we've got data that sort of is reliable.
Is possibility show the quality improvement work between the audit and re-audit or further audits? It's the quality improvement part and the action planning that's going to drive the change.
Yeah, I think that's a really good point. We've got a shared learning page on the website where people can submit projects where they've made improvements that involve nice guidance. So I think perhaps they can go into great detail about what improvements they've done. Then submit their actual, hard data to us, to the uptake aspect of the website.
Yeah. Question from Kat asking if there's a way built in for people to identify high-performing trusts and to contact them so they can learn from these trusts.
Well, the name of the trust there, so yes, they can see where the data's come from, and we're not going to be sorting the data based on who's the best. It will be sorted based on date of publication of the data. But yes, if you remember that the demo showed you, it's very visual. You can see with those bar charts what people doing, and I mean maybe that's a good sort of suggestion that trust contact us, and then we can then go to the trust that the data's come from to say, are you happy? Can we basically link trusts up together? Maybe that's one option, or you can contact that trust direct because their details will be on the website against the data.
A popular feature if they're still contacting the trusts.
Yeah, thank you. I shall feed that back as well today.
Wondering actually how far back the data will go. You've got that demo example, you had data from 2011 from repeated audit.
It's data related to 2011, but it was from the publication of 2012. So I think the cut-off is any publications from 2012 onwards, I think. But we'll also have our archive of the old uptake database, which is, the 500-character summary. So you'll still be able to access that. But I think it's been published 2012 onwards. So yes, it might have older in there, but it's only because it was in that publication, if that makes sense.
Yeah. That's cool.
Sorry, go on.
So we've got about 3 minutes left if anyone has any extra questions they wanted to ask in the chat box. So carry on.
I was just going to say that as time goes on, we will get more data. So the starting point is publications for 2012, but as the years go on, obviously we'll have a lot more data against the recommendations and quality measures.
Will this uptake information be available for all the standards and quality standards, different quality standards, or are you limiting to certain areas to start with?
No, if there's a publication that relates to a particular guidance or quality standard, we will put them ourselves, and also if people wish to submit the data directly to us, again, it can be any piece of guidance or quality standards.
Okay.
Just going back to the data validation, it may be that there's a person at corporate level who's responsible for submission of data outside organisations. It may not be the audit manager or the clinical effectiveness manager. So would NICE be thinking about developing some guidance for organisations when at corporate level for submitting data outside? Presumably this will, the whole data will come with some sort of instructions, guidance. My concern is that there may be criticism further down the line that individuals who are not registered are able to agree the submission of data outside organisations. It's just an idea that NICE might like to think about having some instructions for organisations.
Yeah, certainly do that, and I think the idea is that the clinical governance manager or clinical audit manager as a first port of call is that if they're not empowered to say yes, you can publish the data, then they will certainly would be in a better position than other members of the trust to say where it should go. Might be that it's a medical director that agrees the data is published. And every trust work differently, so that's why I thought a sensible first contact to a trust would be clinical governance manager or clinical audit lead. And that's the whole point of the webinar today and the demos that I'm doing in various organisations and conferences, is that to make audit and clinical governance staff aware that this is happening, so that they may well receive an email from us saying that we've received data from members of staff.
That is why we've been so pleased to be able to facilitate this webinar with you today, to give this to a wider audience. And we know that a lot of our audience today are quite senior in the clinical audit community, and we can use this opportunity to spread this further for you.
Absolutely, yeah, it'd be great. Thank you.
I think we have one more quick question, and then we'll have to wrap this up. We have a question from Andy asking how TOOL will handle national audit data, and whether NICE will be extracting this information from national audit reports, or whether the auditors will be submitting the data to, or whether this will be done on an individual trust basis.
The way it currently works is we're aware of most national audit publications, so we will extract data from the national audit reports once they're published. So that we're asking to be submitted is from individual organisations, and it might well be that it does reflect something that's in an audit, or it might just be a local audit project where they pick a particular recommendation or quality measure that they want to submit to us.
Thank you much. I think that's all we've got time for today. We will be having Twitter chat this evening at 6:30, 6 or 7. This will be on the same topic, and the hashtag to join in this Twitter chat is #ClinicalAudit, which is on your screens now. So you can either follow #ClinicalAudit or @HQIP if you've got a Twitter account. Thank you much for all of your questions and comments. I think it's been really helpful for all of us here. We've enjoyed the chat. These slides will be available on the HQIP website shortly, along with a recording of this webinar, so you can share that with people in your organisations. I'm sure Yas that works in your teams will be really excited and interested to hear about this new piece of work from NICE.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
Thank you. Goodbye.